this part of Holon has stayed virtually the same for the last 50 plus years.
מה זה פרהוד? פרהוד זה כל מי שרואים אותו, רוצחים אותו וגונבים אותו, בפרט ליהודים.
What is a Farhood? Farhood was any person that they saw that was Jewish, they killed him, they murdered him. A huge impending war that's going to start here soon. Since October 7th, I've been called a white European colonizer. So my grandma's caretaker, she's Muslim, from Uzbekistan, currently celebrating Ramadan. If Hezbollah or Hamas fires rockets at them, they'll be firing at fellow Muslims. I asked her, what do you do if the rocket falls here? She says, I'll die. Welcome, folks. Welcome to the Big H, as me and my friends jokingly like to call this city. This is the city of Holon, where most of my mother's family lives here in Israel. So Holon, back in the day, when my parents were kids and my grandparents were freshly immigrated to Israel as refugees from Iraq, this place used to be basically a huge sand dune. You can see a lot of the construction here is still very, very old. This is a neighborhood called Neot Rachel. So this is where most of my family, my mom's close side of my family, my grandparents lived, my aunt, my cousins grew up, and where I spent most of my life in Israel as a kid. And we're going to talk a little bit about what feels like a huge impending war that's going to start here soon in Israel. But I'm also going to show you guys a little look at what sort of the local, non-fancy life looks like with my family. The sort of conditions that we live in, especially when it comes to bomb shelters and rockets, being not close to the Gaza Strip, but southern suburb of Tel Aviv. Ramadan today, first official day of Ramadan. Obviously a Ramadan Kareem to those of you guys who celebrate it, and I wish you guys to have an easy fast. I hope the holiday is meaningful, but unfortunately this amazing holiday for Muslims around the world is being hijacked by most Muslim extremists around the world to push a message of absolute extremism against not just Israel, but Jews worldwide. See, some of the facade of these buildings are even crumbling apart. They're very old buildings. They've been around for probably like 60, 70 years. Maybe 50 years, some of them. Some of them are a little older, some of them are younger. My family lives in buildings like this. We're just getting to an area where my aunt's house is. I won't show you exactly where it is for privacy concerns, but I will show you guys the inside of the house. What do you guys think about my haircut, by the way? We liking it? Handsome clat or non-handsome clat? Ramadan clat? This is what the inside of these buildings look like. You can see. Sorry, it's very dark. I'm gonna turn on the lights. There's timers here on the lights that shut off. זה טל. את בבית. I've become so Asian. Every time I come into a house, I take off my shoes, not my feet. If you're an OG subscriber of this YouTube channel, watching for a long time, this is where a lot of my early vlogs, when I used to vlog in Israel, back when I had like sub 10,000 subscribers. This is pretty much where I used to live. I used to sleep right here on the floor. This is my aunt Rachel's house here in Holon. She's actually very religious. I would even say she's more like ultra-Orthodox in the Jewish world. So there's pictures of rabbis all over the house. This is again what the neighborhood looks like from the balcony. There is no attraction to coming to Holon. This place is in Tel Aviv. It's not, there's no amusements to be seen here. It's not a city. It's a city that is developing and it's changing, but this part of Holon has stayed virtually the same for the last 50 plus years. Like, not much has changed. Even the plaza that I'll show you guys in a bit, from the perspective of the supermarkets, the money exchange, I've been going to them for like literally 20 years since I was a little kid with my grandpa before he passed away. Why did I specifically want to talk about the houses here? Is because of this impending war that's coming in. Houses like Rachel's, this house right here. So imagine if there's rockets being fired. This is the kind of building that people are in. You go all the way down. And this is what your bomb shelter looks like. In Hebrew, we call it Merchav Mugan. It's also used as storage for a lot of people. They just store shit here. Very typical Israeli thing to do. And it's like kind of like a building storage, like a shared storage here for the building. But this is what the bomb shelter looks like for the people. Now, there's a lot of people, which we're going to show you guys later, like my grandma, who have been living in this neighborhood for 40, 50 plus years. My grandma's 85 with dementia. She cannot go to a bomb shelter anymore. She lives on the 4th floor of the building. I'll show you guys that later. I asked my aunt to pull up a picture for me of my grandpa. This was her father, my mom's father. My aunt wants to be on camera. But this is what my grandpa, the forefather of our family, looks like. We're gonna meet his wife recently. He passed away in 2017 when I was in the Philippines. This guy was the closest person to me and my family besides my mom. So I'm waiting for my grandmother's brother, Uli. We call him Doduli, even though he's not my uncle, he's my mom's uncle. Okay.
רצוי?
זה סבבה, נוח לך?
לא מפריע לי, אבל זה רצוי, יוצא כל העסק הזה.
זה לא משנה. This is who in my family we call Doduri.
כן.
Doduri is my grandma's brother.
אני אורי, קוראים לי אורי.
He says his name is Uri. מאיפה אתה?
מאיפה אני? מעיראק.
He's from Iraq. Where?
כן, בעיראק. בעיראק 42 היה מהפכה, ולא היה ממשלה קיימת. אז הציבור קם על האזרחים היהודים, והתחילו להרוג ולגנוב.
So he's explaining specifically about the Farhood 1941-42. There was an upheaval by the citizens of Iraq where they attacked, killed and stole from Jewish people.
שמענו שהורגים ילדים והורגים אזרחים, ושוב פעם באו לגנוב. הם נכנסו דרך חצר מאחורה, היה לנו חצר, נכנסו, אבל מה לא הספיקו לתפוס אותנו? השכן הערבי, האנשים היו מאוד מכובדים ונחמדים. אמרו לאבא שלי, בוא תביא את הילדים שלך ותכנס אצלנו. דלת על הדלת היה.
So he's saying that there was rumors that they were killing people, they were killing children, and so people were breaking in to steal, and in their backyard they realized that people were trying to break into their house to probably hurt them, and their neighbors, which he said were very good people, Arab Muslims, very good people, took them in and hid them away from the extremist crowds outside.
אז הערבים האלה אמרו לאבא שלי, אל תפחד, תביא את הילדים שלך ותבוא תשב אצלנו. בינתיים הם עלו על הגג, אלה הרוצחים האלה, והיה מדרגות מהגג למטה. באמצע המדרגות השכן הזה שהחזיק אותנו, אמרו לו, מהר תעלה למעלה לפני שאנחנו נחסל אותך. מה אתה רוצה מהיהודים האלה? מה לך ולפה? תראו מהר, סלק אותם. אם הערבי הזה לא היה מסלק אותם, היו רוצחים אותנו וגונבים אותנו.
So he's saying that in this conflict, when this whole Farhood began, one of their neighbors was hiding them, and then when the mobs came in with guns and knives to try to hurt and murder them because they knew that they were Jewish, the Arab neighbor of his, the Muslim Arab neighbor, protected them and told off the crowd to come. And he said if he wasn't there to protect them, those crowds would have 100% killed them.
מה זה פרהוד? פרהוד זה כל מי שרואים אותו, רוצחים אותו וגונבים אותו. בפרט ליהודים.
So he's saying, what is a Farhood? Farhood was any person that they saw that was Jewish, they killed him, they murdered him. There was no filtering in between. They saw a Jewish person, they killed him. כמה זמן הייתם מוחבאים?
היינו זה יומיים בערך. אבל בינתיים רצחו 180 איש.
So he said that he said they were hiding in the house of their neighbor for 2 full days. They couldn't leave the house. And in that meantime, they killed 180 Jews in Baghdad. He said he was only 11 or 12 years old when all of this happened. How do you feel about Hamas and Hezbollah that are firing rockets on you? כי אתה פליט, נכון? אתה מהגר כמו שאמרנו. פליט.
מהגר בטח.
מישהו שברח ממדינה, בגלל שאתה יהודי, רצו להרוג אותך, עכשיו הגעת לישראל, ורוצים להרוג אותך שוב בגלל שאתה יהודי. החמאס והחיזבאללה. איך אתה מרגיש כלפי זה? ושנייה רגע אני אתרגם. I'm telling him, how do you feel about the fact that you escaped as a refugee, somebody who was trying to be killed because he was Jewish, and now you're here in this country, and people are still trying to kill you because you're Jewish?
אנחנו לא מסכימים לדבר כזה, אנחנו עושים שיהיה, באנו, אנחנו הגרנו מעיראק לפה, על מנת שנדע שזה מדינה שלנו, זה מדינת ישראל, לחיות בה בכבוד ובכל מצב. אבל לא תיארנו לעצמנו שיהיה מלחמה כל שנתיים, כל שלוש, קמים ונלחמים אלינו. נלחמים נגדנו, נגד היהודים.
So he's saying that he could have never imagined in his wildest dreams the idea of escaping Iraq because people were trying to kill them because they were Jewish, and coming here, and for the last 60 years he's been in this country, that every 2 years there's a flare-up of a war where people try to kill them because they're Jewish.
אנחנו בשום אופן לא מסכימים על המלחמה הזאת. הם עושים לנו סתם עוונטה בגלל שאנחנו יהודים והגענו כאן למדינה. אחד המוסלמים אמר, מאיפה שאתם באתם, תחזרו למדינה שלכם. אנחנו לא רוצים אתכם פה. זה אחד מהמוסלמים, מהשטחים. וכל יום שני וחמישי אתה שומע, הורגים מישהו, דקרו מישהו, רצחו מישהו, דרסו מישהו. כל המוראות האלה, זה אף אחד לא מסכים.
So he said,
גרוע מאוד, זה יותר גרוע מהפרהוד.
So he said he doesn't want the war. He's not interested in any war. And he quoted a specific Muslim from the West Bank, which I don't know who he's talking about specifically, but he said that this man was saying that where you came from, you should go back to. That's where you should go. And he said it specifically, they're doing this because they are Jewish. Okay, אבל הוא אומר לך לחזור לעיראק. הוא אומר לך תחזור לאיפה שבאת.
כן.
למה לא תחזור לעיראק? I'm asking why don't you just go back to Iraq?
בעיראק הם לא רוצים לקבל אותנו, הם לקחו את הדרכון של כל יהודי שהוא אין חזרה. לקחו את הדרכון, העיראקים ממנו אמרו, אנחנו יודעים שאתם נוסעים לפלסטין. אז לקחו את הדרכון וגמרנו, אין חזרה.
So they said that when they escaped Iraq, they took their passports, stripped them of their citizenship because they said they knew that they were going to Israel, and there was no going back. There's no going back anymore. תודה, דודורי.
תודה גם לך.
אוהבים אותך.
רואים את התמונה שלי הכל, אה?
תראה, אתה רואה את עצמך?
כן, כן. תודה רבה.
Love this guy.
זה העבודה שלך?
זה העבודה שלי.
איזה יופי.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about this impending war and what I'm feeling. I'm seeing immense amounts of heat coming from the northern border of Israel. The terrorist group of Hezbollah, which has capabilities, I would say, tenfold that of Hamas, who has the ability to actually shut down this country properly and lead to a lot of civilian casualties, a lot of damage on the ground, and obviously putting people like my grandparents, my grandma, my aunt, our entire family here who lives in Holon under extreme threat. The area specifically where my family is extremely unprepared for a war like this. With the capabilities that Hezbollah has versus Hamas and what they're able to inflict on the nation of Israel is extremely scary. Obviously, I have no doubts in my mind that at the end of the day, we'll come out of this war victorious because it's a terrorist group versus an entire country. The problem is the civilian casualty, both in the Israel side and the Lebanese side, is going to be horrific. One of the most recent things I heard was that the Israeli government, Israeli army, gave Hezbollah an ultimatum. 15th of March, chill the fuck out, or we're coming in. Because it's been months now. And obviously with the heat of Ramadan now, the most important month in the Muslim calendar, sort of sparking tensions across the world of these extremists, it's a scary time we're heading into. And when Hezbollah attacks or Hamas attacks, they're attacking these ordinary civilians. These people just living their lives here. They're not attacking soldiers. They're attacking just people who are living here, who didn't do anything wrong. This is my Aunt Rachel, by the way. לגבי החיזבאללה, כאילו מה שקורה בצפון. את מרגישה פה בטוחה אם יקרה מלחמה מהצפון?
אני אדם מאמין, ואני מאמינה שאת חיזבאללה השם ימחק, ככה,
So she said, so I asked her what she feels about Hezbollah
וגם
and
את
the war.
חמאס השם ימחק.
So she says she believes that God will wipe out Hezbollah and Hamas.
עם ישראל לנצח, לעולמי עולמים. השם אוהב את העם היהודים. הוא יודע, היהודים הולכים אחריו באש ובמים.
So she's saying that God loves the nation of Israel and that God is behind us. It comes again from a very religious standpoint.
אבל אנחנו, היהודים אוהבים את כולם. אין לנו שנאה לאף אחד. אוהבים את כולם. אוהבים את הערבים, את המוסלמים, את הנוצרים. אוהבים אותם. אנחנו לא רוצים לריב איתם.
She's saying that us Jews love everyone.
הם לא אוהבים אותנו. אנחנו אוהבים אותם. כי ככה לימד אותנו השם לאהוב כל אחד בעולם.
So she's saying that us Jews, we love everybody, doesn't matter who they are. We love Arabs, we love Muslims, we don't have a problem with anyone. It's actually the opposite, is they have a problem with us, and that God taught her and taught us, Am Yisrael, to love everyone equally. It doesn't matter who and where you're from. Here's some family photos. This is from my cousin's wedding when I got drafted into the army when I was 17. I remember this summer I had to get a exemption draft from the army. That's me. That's my mom, that's my sister. That's 17-year-old tall. That's just around the time. This outfit is when I started getting called Klat in school and became the identity of the traveling Klat. Just around that time, almost 10 years ago, or over 10 years ago now. Wow, נראית בדיוק כמו סבתא. So this is our great-grandmother, Safta Habiba. She was born in Basra in Iraq and escaped to Israel because Muslim extremists were kicking her and her family out of Iraq for being Jews. That's Safta Habiba. Looks just like a white colonizer, in my opinion. I always try to explain this point over and over again when we make videos in Israel. Rachel was born here in Israel. My grandpa, Ezra, and my grandma, Miriam, who's still alive, escaped Iraq because of Islamic extremism against Jewish people all across the Middle East and North Africa. Here's a picture. That's my grandpa Ezra, and that's my grandma Miriam, which you'll meet later, and that's Rachel. These people escaped Iraq because they were Jewish, not because they came to colonize any sort of land. They were happy with their lives in Iraq. They genuinely were. While it wasn't always perfect, they were happy. They lived simple lives, they made money, they lived alongside their Muslim counterparts. But one day, Muslims woke up in 1941 in Baghdad and committed the Farhood against the Jews. It was the first sort of major pogrom against Jewish people in Iraq. These people are not white colonizers from Europe, and there's millions of them whose story is simply not told. These are the people, these people right here, who Arabs would consider them nowadays Arabs, even though Arabs back then didn't consider them Arabs and kicked them out of the country because they weren't Arabs. These people right here gave birth to people like Rachel. Rachel had to serve in the army for what reason? She was simply born here, a daughter of refugees. She didn't do anything wrong. She was simply born here. But people wanted to kill her because she was Jewish. She, like everybody else in my family, is a Zionist. She, like most people in Israel, and most Jews around the world, are Zionists because they needed the state of Israel to exist, to live. These are the stories that most people don't know. So I got soup to give to my grandma today from my aunt. Luckily, they live right next to each other. I don't even need to go anywhere. I don't know. What do you guys think? White European colonizers or what? Doduli seems to me like a white European colonizer. Do you guys know since October 7th I've been called a white European colonizer? Isn't that shocking? But all I'm trying to do is show you guys my family history, and clearly we're white European colonizers. Clearly these people came here with malintent to colonize this place. So this area right here, me and my family, we call this the Merkaz. This is basically the little center of this area of Neot Rachel. You can see the design of the buildings in the surrounding area. Those are some buildings that have been redone, but these ones have stayed intact for the last 50 plus years, I would say. You're gonna find people, immigrants from all walks of life here. You'll have Russians, you'll have Ethiopians, you'll have Sudanese, you'll have Filipino, you'll have Israelis from all different walks of life that live here and have lived in this neighborhood for a very long time. This, I would say, one of the best bakeries in this entire country, which is surprising because it's in a random place, but it's absolutely amazing. Ever since I was a kid, it's always been pretty much exactly the same right here. Even this little concrete structure, you see this? This is a taxi cab call center, which you never really see things like that anymore. But I remember as a kid when we used to come to Israel and it was cheap, you would call a taxi from right here, from that little building, that little concrete bunker looking thing. This is the building where I've spent most of my life in Israel in. Both growing up, visiting, This is where my grandparents have lived. It's only my grandma who's left now here, and her caretaker, who is a Muslim woman from Uzbekistan. By the way, when Hamas fires rockets at Israel, they're also firing rockets at Muslim workers who come to work in Israel. My grandma's caretaker, she's Muslim from Uzbekistan, currently celebrating Ramadan. If Hezbollah or Hamas fires rockets at them, they'll be firing at fellow Muslims. Get the hypocrisy in your head. Try to understand a bit of how freeing Palestine, all it really does is kill other Muslim people. Whew. Welcome to Safta Miriam's house. This is my grandma's house. This is what it looks like. Very simple, small place. You'll see pictures of me as a kid everywhere here. Here's me in my bar mitzvah. That's me, my grandpa, my cousin. There's me with my grandma. There you go, a little squirt. There's my grandpa and my grandma. And that's Doduli, who we just interviewed when he was a kid in Iraq. Definitely white colonizer vibes we're getting here. Huge expansive mansions, lots of land. We're killing it out here. Absolutely killing it. Since I got here, I've been sleeping on the couch right here in this little spot. That's my zone. And that's it. I'll introduce you guys to my grandma in a bit. She's just eating some food. But the main gist of what I was trying to say earlier was, when war breaks out here, my grandma, you'll see in a minute, she's got early onset dementia similar to Doduli. She can't walk anymore, really. And the family at the moment, we don't have the ability to get her into like an old people's home. We're working on it, but it's financially very difficult since our family is not like, things like that are very expensive in Israel. When there's a war or when there are sirens going off, there's no opportunity for my grandma to go anywhere. There's not enough time for her to get up and physically walk down. She can't go on the stairs anymore, so she can't actually walk to a bomb shelter. So she just basically has to sit here on the couch and wait for certain death. That's the reality that she lives in as an 85-year-old woman with dementia who is a refugee from a Muslim country because she was a Jew, not because she colonized. She didn't even serve in the army. She was just a young girl when she made it here. She's just been a mother. Saftosha! Saftusha! תגידי שלום לחברים שלי.
שלום.
This is my grandma Miriam.
שלום לכם.
מאיפה את?
עיראק.
My grandma's from Iraq. תגידי, סבתא, אני מסביר לחברים שלי, so I'm telling her, I'm trying to explain to my friends, מה קורה שיש אזעקות? מה את עושה שיש אזעקות מהמלחמה?
אני יושבת.
יושבת פה? כן. So I asked her,
חבל לעלות ולרדת.
I asked her, what do you do when there's sirens?
קשה לי.
קשה לך ללכת למקלט?
קשה לי לרדת מדרגות. אז אני נשארת, בפצצה שדרו עליי, מה לעשות?
זה לא בסדר. Why doesn't she get up? So basically the contingency plan for somebody her age, if you can't walk to the miklat, to the merchav mugan, to the bomb shelter, what you do is when a rocket siren is going off, when you rock it off, you go and you walk into here, like we showed you earlier, into the staircase, and you try to hide in here. But again, that is open. If a rocket hits there, it can come collapsing down. And it can cause a lot of damage. But usually you come and you hide here somewhere in the staircase. She's at the age now where, just like she said, if a rocket comes, she stays sitting here on this couch and she basically waits. You guys tell me where the justice is in that. You tell me where the free Palestine is in that. And you tell me this. She's a refugee. That's a refugee that you're looking at from a Muslim country where Muslims tried to murder her and her family for being a Jew. What army in the world would not protect her life? You tell me that. You answer that question for me. You tell me what's more just than protecting our elderly who gave us our families, who gave us our lives, from being killed uselessly in the name of Islam. You tell me that. נכון סבתא?
אני גם לא מספיקה להגיע למדרגות בזמן ההזעקה. אז בשביל מה? אין טעם. אז אני יושבת פה. זה שנייה צריך. כשיש הזעקה בשנייה אתה צריך לקפוץ.
So she's saying when there's a rocket attack, you have a second to run to the shelter. ומה את עושה אם נופל טיל פה? מה תעשי?
אמות. אמות. יש כאלה מתים מסכנים.
I asked her, what do you do if the rocket falls here? She says, I'll die.
לא יכולים ללכת, מקבלים על הראש. מה יעשו?
לא, למה החמאס יורה עלייך טילים?
למה? כי אנחנו עם יהודי, והם שונאים אותנו.
בגלל שאת יהודייה?
כן. כל היהודים הערבים שונאים.
I said, why are they doing this? Why are they firing rockets at you? She said, because we're part of the nation of Israel, because we're Jewish. That's not a soldier. That's a refugee. That is a person who seeked asylum. She's not a soldier, and there are millions just like her. And their descendants even more. They didn't do anything wrong. Where's the justice? You find it for me. I'm telling you guys real fucking stories. These are real stories. This is my family. I will never, ever stop fighting this fight. Ever. You will not be able to convince me that firing rockets at innocent civilians in cities that are refugees, kicked out of places in the name of Islam, now having rockets fired them in the name of Islam is justice in any way, shape, or form. You'll never convince me. I'm out. I love you long time.